Hello! I'm pretty sure we're live. Red light came up, so we should be live, but if we're not, then that's an issue. But welcome back to the ALR Tier 1 season. It's round 3 here in Britain, and a good start after our decently long break, to be honest. Yeah, it was a few weeks, over Christmas, New Year's, that kind of stuff, just to be expected, really. But we're now back, and it should be, I'm pretty sure, no breaks to the end of the season. So round 3 through to round 15, I think is the rest of the season, and we're starting off really strong here in Britain. British Grand Prix, always a good one. Good track. If you don't like this track, you're wrong, to be completely honest. Um, so yeah, definitely looking forward to this one. I'm just going to be slightly out of it for the first little bit of this stream, just because I just finished the league race and was trying to sort out something like in reports. So once I get that sorted, my full attention will be on this race. It shouldn't affect qualifying, definitely not the race. It's just the next couple of minutes before we start. I'll be starting now. ALR quote in my tweet. Cool. Oh, it's raining. I don't think we've seen rain so far this season. And the first car on track is going to be the Renault of what I'm assuming will be Lada Oh, no, it's not. Is it going to be... Who's in? Is it Mr. Stickerlass? It is. Mr. Stickerlass, first car on track, and I'm assuming by the fact that everyone's going out on inters like this means it's not going to dry out anytime soon. So that is cool. And Tier 3 has just started their stream. For anyone that was interested at all. He's actually been overtaken, Mr. Sticklas. I think that's the Renault of Ladamala. So Ladamala should be the first one to start a lap in this session. Look forward to that. Ladamala has been good in qualifying from what we've known of him. Obviously last week a bit of an exception. He wasn't here. I meant the week before in Australia, so yeah. Maybe he can get a better chance after this break and doesn't lock up like that. We have got yellows for a stopped Haas in the middle sector. Looks like on the exit of... Woohoo! That was dodgy in the first corner. Not much grip there. Yeah, looks like on the exit of Cops there was an issue for one of the Haas drivers. Okay, as he comes towards the end of the first sector, I've forgotten to put the stuff on. There we go. But it's looking like a tidy lap so far, no big mistakes. So, should be a decent lap if he keeps this level of precision up. Oh my god, constant pings. And the Tier 2 stream has now started. So that's all the streams have started for today. But you want to stay here, because this is the one you all want to see, the Tier 1 stream. Coming towards the final little section now for Ladamala. Slight sliding at the front there, but he's going to keep it tidy. It's not going to affect him too much. Through the final corner now, very neat. He's going to cross the line with 135.1. So a very solid lap to start up the session here. Ghost Toy coming to cross the line in second, and it's a 135.4. 3/10 separating them as it stands. More people crossing the line. Chiquito, who's a name I do not recognise, with a 35.8, Skullsy with a 36.0, Ishtar with a 37.0, Tambi with a 36.3, and Mr. Sticklas with a 150.3, Swen 42.2, and Smatters with a 36.3. That is the first 10 drivers to complete a lap. Pontus Johansson with a 36.5. And next across the line will be Rudy, who's invalidated by Polwy. Good luck from Polwy, puts him second with a 35.2, very close up at the front here between these three. Hyped with a good lap as well, putting him within 6/10 of the current pole time. Andres Basson moves himself up into fourth with a 35.5. 4/10 of the current pole time, and he's invalidated his second run, so he's going to switch everything down there. Rossi off the track. Not what you love to see. Who's coming up to cross the line next on a fast lap? It looks like it's going to be Rudy's invalidated. Rossi. Stan will be the next one to cross the line on a fast lap. Everyone else coming into the pits after their first lap. Not looking too tidy here from Stan, actually. He's struggling a lot with these conditions as Polwy goes for a second lap and sets a 34.9, the first driver into the 34s in this session. So good stuff from him to take provisional pole. Okay, final corner, a bit of a slide there, coming up very wide, and it's only good enough for P14 for Stan. 38.4. Not a great lap. He's definitely going to look to improve on that one with his next run. So just coming through the middle sector now for Boomer. Fairly tidy there through Cops. Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Not the greatest, but still fairly tidy. Not much sliding going on there. Long run down the hanger straight now. Ghost with a 34.4, putting him in provisional pole now. Very tentative there, very patient on the throttle for Boomer. Coming into the final little section now, breaking up the 100, turning in, just clipping that red curb, coming back across. Not hitting that curb very hard, but coming through. You can touch the final curb before crossing the line for a 1:37.2, good enough for 14th place. At the top there's been a bit of changing. So Ghost obviously takes provisional pole. Pole second, Ladamala third, Tambi up into fourth with a 35.1. Very slightly slower than Ladamala. He's also still on a flying lap. So we'll watch this one as we go through. He's slightly down at the moment, so nearly a 10th down, but he can find that one pretty easily in wet weather conditions. So yeah, he's just got to make sure he gets the rest of it right. Through Maggots Bay, he's going to have a bit of traffic as he exits here. It is tidy though, and he goes purple in the middle sector. He's reduced that gap to half a 10th down now, so it's probably not going to be a huge improvement, especially with this traffic in front of him, but if he can nail this last section it should be an improvement at least. Ooh, that's a bit of blocking there from Mr. Stickerlass, who is on a flying lap, so it is of course fine, but I'm sure Tambi doesn't enjoy it, and yeah, 3/10 down, so lap really ruined there by being held up, and he's invalidated his next one, so that's going to be it for Tambi at the moment. Ladamala on an invalidated lap, Wilt on a flying as he comes towards the end of his lap now. It moves up into 5th place with a 35.2. Very nice from the Red Bull driver there. Now we're going to have to see what he does. Yeah, he's backing off, so he's not going for a second lap straight away. Who else is getting towards the end of their lap? Looks like Terumbar comes to cross the line. It's only good enough for 17th, a 1:37.4. Not the greatest lap by him. Coming through Maggots and Beckett's now, we have Rudy. Rudy's who has been a bit inconsistent with performance, but there have been some tracks he's performed extremely strong at, and from the looks of it, it might be the case here as he goes purple in the middle sector. Coming through the final part of the track now, braking at the 100-meter board, using a bit of outside curb, touching the inside curb red bit, coming back over to the right before extending, opening up the wheel before coming back through to the right, and he's going to cross the line. It's only good enough for P8, 35.6. He's in his defence, is only 1.2 off the current provisional pole, so it's definitely not a bad time by any means. Rossi now coming to complete his lap in the Ferrari. Let's see if he can do a bit better than his teammate has as he comes through this tricky little section. Very difficult in the wet to get the traction down here, of course, and those curbs are quite dangerous in the wet, but he crosses for P16 with a 36.8. It is better by his teammate, but not by much. Only 3 positions here. As ooh, that's a big one there for Rossi. He keeps it out of any kind of wall though, so he should be fine. Did look like he destroyed a bit of a polystyrene board there. Hopefully it wasn't an e-brake marker boards as the... Wow, the house in front of him. I don't know if he was put off by him or what, but hyped just with a huge spin there, and he's come back onto the track trying to get out of the way of the McLaren there. I think that's Tamby coming through, and hyped is not having a great time in this session so far. Just hope it gets a bit better for him. Yeah, it's not looking like it, is it? As Chiquito with a 35.2 moves us up into P7. Scoolsy now P4 with a 35.0. So looking good for him at the moment. Tamby as well. Still half a second, just under half a second off of that provisional pole time. Let's see if he can do anything about it. Probably not, being 5 tenths down into the first sector, as it looks like Hyped has spun again through cops, so he is not enjoying himself at the moment at all. Let's see now, coming through Maggots and Beckett's. I think Tamby might just be on a cooldown lap, to be completely honest. Although he does look like maybe not. No, he definitely is. He's nearly a second down. And just pits at the end of that lap. So everyone kind of in the pits at the moment. Pontus with another invalidated lap. Boomer's a little bit down at the moment, so unlikely that he will make too much improvement. No, he pits. So it looks like that is it for the second part of this qualifying session, and everyone will come out for one more run in just a second. Lots of people on their out laps, so these are going to be the runs that matter the most. Who can get pole in this session? It's been quite close so far. Maybe not to Ghost Toy, who's a little bit further ahead than you would normally find with this division, but obviously just likes the wet. Maybe it's the combination of the wet at this track as well. So yeah, Smatters the tyres. He does it on track, so hopefully his AI does not get in the way of anyone else. Mr. Stickerlass currently on a lap. Ooh, sliding all the way through Mags and Beckett's. But he does keep it going in the right direction, so hopefully for him this is an improvement. It's 7 tenths of an improvement as it currently stands. So it's going to put him a couple of positions up as it stands, but obviously he still gets the last sector to make more improvements, and that's not going to help him at all there. Small snap of oversteer. Let's see as he comes through the final couple of corners now, struggling a lot by the looks of it. Crosses the line, and it's good enough for P16. So only moves himself up 2 positions. So definitely struggling there. And is way off the track there, so it retires. Ghost Toy, let's see what he's able to do on his... Ooh. Okay, and that's ended his run. Who is that, Williams? Ooh, big collision behind. Scoolsy, 5-second grid penalty collision with Mr. Stickerlass, and that's Mr. Stickerlass's retired car. So it's gotten in the way of Scoolsy and given him a penalty. Now, I think the stewards might take action on that one. see Polwy should be on a lap right now, not too far behind where Ghost Toy is. See what he's able to do now as we come through the middle section. He is 2 tenths down, 2.5 tenths down on his lap time. So it's going to have to be a mega final sector here for him to get that improvement and gain the position over Tambi. And while I wasn't looking, Dress Basson with a 134.6 and Polwy aborts his lap. We'll have time to go for another one though. Dress Basson moves himself up into second place for that one. So still half a second off Ghost Toy, but a lot closer than we've seen at the moment in this session. Especially with Dress Basson having been quite a way down the order beforehand. Coming through the first few corners now, looking tidy here from Polwy. Yet to see if he's actually on a flying lap though. We've got yellows in sector 1 and 2, it's just a slow moving Alpha Tauri. So hopefully they don't get in the way. Looks like they shouldn't do, as Polwy is 2.5 tenths up on his delta here. So he is definitely looking good for an improvement here. And is it going to be a good enough improvement for P2 maybe? As he is only 3 tenths behind second place Dress Basson. Stan moves himself up into 5th with his final lap with a 134.9. Wilt P8 and Pontus Johansson P11. Rossi P12. Basket Emil only P15. Dress Basson retires, so he's not going to improve from a 134.6. So Polwy and Tambi here have it all in their hands. I think Tambi's actually completing his lap, and it's not an improvement, so it's all on. Ladder Mallow goes second now with 134.3. Great lap right at the end here, and that's an invalidation from Polwy. Ooh, right at the end of the lap. What looked like a great lap as well, Polwy invalidates. So I think next will be Hyped, who's invalidated. So that is it for the session, unless Swen... Ooh, that was the wrong time. And Ghost Toy pits. Hopefully he retires so we don't have to sit through this whole pit thing. I hope. It looks like he's not. But at the same time, we are just waiting for him actually, because Hype just crossed the line. So once again, we're waiting for Ghost Toy to get wheeled into the garage. Probably should just retire in the pits, so it's quicker for everyone. But oh well. And that is the grid set for our British Grand Prix here. Ghost Toy on pole, the Italian with a 134.1, and his compatriot in second place, locking out the front row for Italy with 2.5 tenths behind. Dress Basson, Australia race winner, half a second down on the pole time here, only P3. Rudy P4 in the Williams. Tambi, last year's champion, P5. Polwy P6, Stan P7, Skolzy P8, but he will have a 5-place grid penalty, dropping him to P13, which is quite bad considering he also has to, I guess he doesn't have to start any ties, it was wet. Wilt P9 and Ella Chiquito in 10th. Pontus Johansson 11th, Rossi 12th, 13th is Hyped, 14th Smatters, 15th Basket, 17th Ishtar, 16th Ishtar, 17th Turumbar, 18th Mr. Stickelas, and I didn't get to see 19th or 20th. But you guys probably know who they are because you've been paying more attention than I have. See what you guys are saying. Clap for carers. That was, yeah. Sorry, delay the race by 5 minutes so we can. That wasn't really in my power, Logie. I don't know. KP, you have a good Christmas. I did have a good Christmas, thank you, Kieran. Yeah, well, it was good. Oswaldo wants to see the telemetry. Sorry. Well, actually, I did switch that on. Tolpiz is just why did the stream close there? Sick one. Cool. I think I've messed up my connection. Formation lap. Most exciting bit of any race. You know I love a formation lap. Honestly, it's so good. With the strategy here being soft medium, and maybe if you're outside the top 10, medium soft. So, yeah. I mean, not the most interesting strategy, I know, but I think the track more than makes up for it. Usually, some good overtaking here. Of course, it is kind of hard to drop people because of the strong DRS here, but shouldn't matter if people are willing to go for some overtakes. Just gonna have a quick look at tyres. So only Skolzy, Basket, Turumbar, Boomer and Swen choosing to go onto the medium tyre in this race for the start. So everyone else on softs. I guess that's okay. I'm not really sure what people are thinking. Like, it's probably better to choose the mediums because then you can just sit in someone's DRS train, not lose time while you're on the slower tyre, and then when you're on the quicker tyre, you get to overtake those same people that were on the slower tyre before. So I don't really get why people don't choose the mediums when they're outside the top 10, but today they've chosen to stick to their softs. Skolzy actually chose the mediums. I didn't think he'd be able to change tyres because of the penalty, but he was actually able to. So that's alright for him, I guess. Best wishes to you as well, Oswaldo. Rally supporting Dressbassen here. And Kieran, yeah, watch everyone be boring and saying DRS. That's pretty much what's going to happen, but hopefully some people go for some overtakes as well. Just waiting for the rest of the grid to form up here. Should only be a few cars to go. In fact, I think that's everyone, so cool stuff. Oh, of course you have free tyre choice. So all of them have a free tyre choice. And yet so many people are on the softs. Why? Why are they on the softs? They shouldn't be. Anyway, lights coming on now. We have 5 red lights. And we are underway for the British Grand Prix. It's been a good start for Ladder Mala. He's pulled alongside Ghost Toy here. And is he going to get it on the inside of turn 1? He's been touched. And he's spun round. And there's a huge collision. Someone's lost their front wing in the background there. He's had to cut the corner. And that has gone horribly wrong for the Renault driver already. As it's probably Ghost Toy's fault, I would think, considering he was on the outside there. So I'm sure maybe that would be something for the stewards to look at. And Dressbassen was the one that got caught up. He's got a penalty for cutting the corner and is way down the order from where he started. So very unfortunate for Dressbassen so far in this race. I think he might be the one who got damage as well. Stan also a long way down the order. But Tandy and Rudy benefiting hugely from this, up into P2 and 3. But Ghost Toy is already starting to pull away from them. So yeah. Wow. Pontus Johansson getting past Skolzy there. And Smatters going around the outside of Rossi through Beckett's. It's not worked out for him. He has got damage to his front wing. So he's going to lose some more positions down the straight, I think. Here. Oh, jeez, this is crazy. And Ladder Mala now looks to get past him. Ladder Mala goes down the inside of a lot of cars there. He does only get 2 positions in the end, though. And that's a car going into the business. One of the Williams drivers. It is Skolzy. So Skolzy, disappointing start from here so far, having to pit on lap 1. DRS shouldn't be enabled. It's lap 1, with lap 2, I guess. But the timing tower is glitched, as it has been since the game's release. Good stuff, and Ladamala in 6th place has recovered fairly decently from that lap 1 incident. Actually, I think he's 7th place because it's Ghost Toys in the wrong place on the timing tower. In fact, he's way lower down than that, isn't he? He's P15. Wow, that's cost him big time so far in this race. I really hate that the timing tower is so broken. Why? He's probably actually about P11, I think, because once this sorts itself out, I think that's where he'll be around about. There's ooh, big there for Chiquito, who's on the inside of Cops by the looks of it, so he's spun there for some reason, and he will have to pit to replace that front wing. Unfortunately for him, that's pretty bad. We have sector 2 yellows. That's still for Chiquito, currently down in P18. I think he's actually P17. Dress Basson is still a bit of an unknown in this race because of the timing tower glitch, but I think he's last. Ghost Toy now starting the 3rd lap, so finally the timing tower is correct and DRS is enabled. He already has over a second back to Rudy, however, so he will be enjoying that gap, especially since the cars behind are in a bit of a train still, with Hyped in 6th place, just looking like he's outside of pole. He's DRS, but I think his Delta's glitches. What is it with the glitches, man? Honestly sucks. This game is so bad for a spectator. Honestly, Codemasters have done a horrible job. Tambi looking like he's just hanging on to the back of Rudy there as Ladamala moves himself up into 9th place past Ishtar. Next up the road for him will be Rossi, 7/10 ahead, with Pontus Johansson completing the train. Pontus Johansson with a bit of a gap to Hyped, who is ahead. So it will be a long way to catch up after that, and that's very wide there from Ladamala. I wouldn't be surprised if he received a warning for that one. Now we have Rossi coming past Pontus Johansson on the inside. He's going to try and hold it on the outside though, is the McLaren. Going to just about keep it on the track, and he's going to come down the inside into the final complex. He's just not got the line though, and Rossi is ahead. Turumbar has retired from the race. Looks like on the exit of Stowe. So I wonder what happened to him there. Actually, I think that looks like it's the pit entry he's crashed into. So that's quite unfortunate for him. We are down to 19 runners in this race on lap 4. And this is a very close battle here so far between these 4 cars. Looks like it's been a good run for Ladamala. He's going to look for a way past Pontus Johansson on this straight. Going to try and get past. He's not going to go for the move though this time round. Hussam says Renault fell apart without him. I guess they did. As Turumbar finally leaves the session. Let's see if that's down the inside. Pontus Johansson making a move on Rossi into Cops. Looks like Rossi had a bad exit from Luffield there. Is there a way back past here? There's Swen getting a 3-second time penalty. Very close here through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. But I don't think he's close enough, because he actually has Ladamala right on his tail, who obviously got a much better run through those corners due to not being so close when they started. But it's not a move there for anyone anyway, so they've decided to stay where they are, except Ladamala coming down the inside through this very unorthodox place to overtake. And it's not worked out for him here, so it probably would have been smarter to hold off and wait for the first heavy braking zone of the lap, of course, down into turn 3. Look how close he's tucked up behind there. He's going to look. He's not going to go for the move though, because he knows there's a DRS straight coming right up. Needs a good exit out of here though. He gets it. It's probably not quite as good as Rossi's, and I don't think he's going to be able to get a move this time round. Rossi with the lockup though. This could open up opportunities if he makes another mistake into this next sequence of corners. Looks like he's alright this time around. and he's already caught back up to the back of Pontus Johansson, which is mostly what is making Vladimir struggle here. You know, the gap created when he had his incident. And Vladimir with 3 seconds now for cutting corners, same with Polhui. So track limits proving to be an issue so far for some of these drivers, and Rossi right on the back of Pontus Johansson now. So it looks to move to the inside of Stowe, and this time he is cleanly through before they even get to the braking zone. So that is Rossi back up into P7, Pontus Johansson with 3 seconds once again. Now let's see if Pontus is able to mount a challenge back as he comes through the first sequence of corners. Turn 1, a very fast right, be careful not to cut the inside. Turn 2, a long fast left, right down into the braking zone of turn 3. It looks like they've decided to hold position this time around, but it's a oh, it was a very questionable move there from Vladimir, but he manages to back out just in time. He's going to have DRS down this straight. Looks like more ERS is being used by Pontus though, so this is going to help Pontus stay ahead this time around. But Vladimir just having a quick look to the inside for Luffield, nothing able to happen there as Pontus had it covered off, but there's a very good run now into Stowe, and he's mostly ahead now, so I think he's going to get this position, and yeah, he moves himself up into P8 with a very nice move down the inside of Stowe. He can now proceed to try and make that gap back up to Rossi before losing out too much to the DRS. So let's have a quick look forwards now as Polhui is all over the back of Tambi. Tambi unable to keep up with Rudy at the moment. Rudy unable to keep up with Ghost. So a bit of spreading occurring here, but it looks like at least these 4 drivers of Polhui, Tambi, Wilt and Hyped are keeping quite close together, just to probably due to the DRS here, but it's just going to help them stay a bit more close as they come through this next session. Vladimir is on fire, says Andrea. Well, yeah, it was a good move, but did make a small mistake and probably stayed behind Pontus longer than he would have liked. So it's going to hinder his progress to the lead lot here of Hyped, Wilt, Polhui and Tambi, unfortunately for him. But it is a long race, so of course he can make that back up with some good pace, which we know he has from qualifying P2. So yeah, it would have been interesting to see where he would have been in this race if not for that incident on turn 1, but we will never know as it stands, unfortunately, as Tambi is passed by Polhui coming on to the end of the hangar straight. It wasn't even close, and now we have Vladimir passing Rossi. Not even intentionally switched to this, it is a game's glitch that caused me to see this, but he's through on the Ferrari and up into P7, able to chase down this group here of Polhui, Tambi, Wilt and Hyped when he gets the chance. Oh, and Wilt actually looking like he wants a move past the reigning champion Tambi here. Tambi, who's been struggling quite a bit so far this season. Not sure what's up with him, but not quite as dominant as he was in the previous season at this point. It's a good run actually from Wilt. He's going to look to the inside, but it looks like Tambi just brakes a little bit later. I think Wilt picked up a warning there for that corner cut, so it's not gone well for him at all. Just on the run down to Stowe, let's just see the gaps here. 4/10, so it's not like he's a million miles away. He is actually keeping to the back of that McLaren quite well, and it looks like Rudy's just starting to drop backwards into this train a little bit. He's not quite as far ahead as he was before, probably due to the pace Polhui has at the moment. So we'll get to see more of that in a minute, I'm sure, but for now nothing much is going on here. Unfortunately, no one's quite close enough. They're all kind of at this half-second gap where you can keep in that DRS. You don't lose too much time because you're not really in that ERS as strongly as you could be. But yeah, it's just kind of frustrating to watch, to be honest, because you know that if these guys pushed a little bit more, they'd probably be able to get a bit closer and make an overtake, but it's so easy to defend from this DRS train at the same time. Speaking of that, Hyped having a little look on Wilt, but he's just nowhere near close enough this time around, and he looks like he makes a mistake that's going to cost him a little bit of time there. But this is where the action is right now. Rossi's still very close to the back of Ladamala, but Ladamala looking like he is closing up on this train little by little, so it will be interesting to see where he gets to in the next couple of laps. See maybe if he can catch up to the back of this train at some point during the second stint. Of course, we're expecting drivers to pit from any time around about now to about lap 13, I think. Probably lap 10, 11ish if they're going for an undercut. So watch out for that. People might try undercuts to get themselves out of these trains, which would be a very smart choice, of course. Now let's see, coming down the main straight now, who is closest to who. Actually, Tanby dropping just outside of that 1 second to Polhui. So Polhui definitely with the pace here. He is slowly catching Rudy. In fact, he's nearly into Rudy's DRS. So he's definitely got a chance here of making this a 5-man train, but Tanby would have to keep up with him if he wants to benefit at all, and he is just struggling to do that as it stands. Look at that gap just increasing little by little with each sector. So Smatters now with a fastest lap of the race in the Renault. He did stop quite early on actually for a set of softs. Hyped 3 seconds for multiple warnings. That's not going to help him in this train because he actually had that advantage over Will. Of course, now that advantage has been lost and he's going to have to make a move on track. Not ideal for him really, to be from a position where he had the penalty advantage to a position where he now has to make it up on his own. Just looking through the field, we have Ishtar quite close to the back of Pontus. So Pontus struggling a bit as Ishtar actually pits. Is the first driver, along with Rossi, to stop in this section of the race. So they're going to go on to mediums and try and go to the end of the race now. Lap 11 opens the pit window. Just having a quick look. Yeah, as I said, it's kind of in that phase of the race where everyone's just kind of saving a bit of ERS. You know, you save more ERS when you're in someone else's DRS. So yeah, they're saving their ERS, not wanting to use it unnecessarily, and they're going to go for a move if one arises. Like here, Sven looking on Stan now to the inside, and they make contact. Is he able to hold it? He is just about able to hold it in a straight line, but I'm sure he will not appreciate that one at all as he looks for a switchback on Stan. He doesn't quite have the momentum. He does now on the inside, however. It's going to be a move down the inside of Cops. Looks like he's using a bit of ERS to keep it there. They touch again by the looks of it. Both drivers just about keeping it on track, and Sven does gain the position up into P11 now. So next up the road for him is Boomer, who is just under a second. Rudy, 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. That is going to be awful for him come the end of this race, especially with how close that pack is as the moment. Pontus Johansson, 5 seconds speeding in the pit lane. So drivers looking like they're struggling a little bit with this pit entry as there's a move down the inside by Stan, but he's just not able to make it work. He tries to switch back, but he loses traction on the exit, and that is that attempt over. And now for those on the medium tyre, like Sven, the soft tyre window is open. And this is the stage of the race where he's really going to get a move on. He's done quite well so far in this race to get himself up into a decent position on those mediums, and now he can start making the moves with the extra pace that he gains from the soft tyre in the second half of this race. Just looking at where the grid is shaken out as Stan goes for another move down the inside. Looks like he's actually got the pace over Boomer at the moment. Maybe just the DRS helping him out a bit. Maybe he's using a lot of ERS. But again, Boomer just able to hold on to the position with very aggressive defending, but fair nonetheless. Coming into Cops, Stan not quite feeling as confident as as Sven was when they came through here last time. Boomer picking up 3 seconds just ahead of them. Actually, it's quite interesting with these Mercedes drivers because they are obviously from the same team, so one of them's going to have to pit first and the other one's going to have to lose out a little bit and pit a lap later. Now I probably think Boomer's going to pit first. No? Okay, neither of them pit this time round, and Stan 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. So it's been a bit of trouble for these drivers so far with the pit lane, apparently. As Basket and Mill moves himself up into the lead of this race, so he is the leading driver on the alternate strategy at the moment. Obviously, once everyone pits, he'll probably find himself, if the deltas correct themselves. Saying it's about a 22 seconds stop here. It's actually a bit longer than that. I think it's about 25. So having a quick look, we got 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, he's probably going to come out behind Pontus and Scoolsy, would be my prediction. So that's around about P13, P14. So these guys are actually quite a way down the back at the moment. Obviously, if the guys behind them also pit, it might be slightly higher than that, kind of P11-ish. So yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see where these guys feed out, of course. Scoolsy there on the soft tyre does have to stop again for what I'd assume would be a set of mediums later on in this race. So he's going to be way down the back of the grid as it stands. Just looking at this battle again between Pontus, Scoolsy and Ishtar. Pontus looking like he's closing up onto the back of Ishtar pretty quickly at the moment, so we'll get to see more of what he can do in a second when we get to the next DRS straight. Which is coming up a couple of corners time. We've actually had Dressbassen retire from the race, and that's right in the pit entry. We'll probably get to see it from Smatters' point of view here. But that looks pretty intentional, I'm going to be honest. Not sure what this league's policy is on kind of intentional retirements like that, but I'm sure if anything needs to be done, it will get done. Actually, looking at this battle, Scoolsy's fallen off the back quite a bit. So it's become a battle purely between Ishtar and Pontus Johansson. As the McLaren able to stick onto the back of Ishtar in this second stint, something he wasn't quite able to do in the first half of this race. Dressbassen leaves. Down the hanger straight now. It looks like Ishtar's actually just coming into DRS on Rossi, so this should be a good battle as Sven finally pits from what was third place. He's going to rejoin quite a way down the order though. It's going to be, I think it's going to be out where Rossi and Ishtar were, maybe even further down. So just behind Scoolsy. There's a very long pit lane here. So that's P16 for Sven. but he will have the tyre advantage over the cars ahead for the rest of this race, so watch out for him. Tamby now trying around the outside of Wilt. Wilt's going to have the better momentum coming off the corner, but can Tamby tuck into that slipstream and think about a move into Cops? No. Just a bit too far behind that time around. He's going to stick behind through Maggots, Beckett and Chapel, and maybe have a move, or at least an attempt to move, down the back end of the hangar straight. Let's see now, just under 5 tenths. He's had a slightly better exit here. He's going to be closing all the way down this straight, and in the background Ladamala and Hyped are going at it. Ladamala getting past Hyped. This is of course the train. Hyped was on the back of the train that Ladamala was chasing earlier, as Basket and Mill finally pits from the lead of this race. So Ladamala moves himself up into what will be P7 once he gets past the pit lane, which is a decent recovery so far from where he, well, obviously started second, but where he ended up after that lap 1 incident. He's doing very well at the moment. Let's have a look at Polky and Rudy. His Basket and Mill is actually rejoining the race down in 14th place. So he's got to make those tyres work for him. He's actually behind Scoolsy. Scoolsy is 12th. Scoolsy hasn't pitted though, so it's whatever. These soft runners are really, in the second half of this race, going to have to push as hard as they can to gain as much time as possible to get towards this top 10. Now, for the fight for the podium, actually, Polby really close to Rudy considering the section of the track he's coming through, keeping it to about 4 tenths of a second, which is incredibly close to Maggots and Beckett's. As you can imagine, maybe a move now into the final section of the track, and it's not even difficult. He gets cleanly ahead before the corner and moves himself up onto the podium in this race. Very nice from him. 3 seconds for Basket Mill as Boomer, the last man to pit, actually Scolzy will probably pit, will come in now from second, moving Polby up into second place in this race, and Rudy into third, but he was there just a moment ago anyway, as Hyped and Ladamala still very close, but they are also catching Tamby bit by bit here, so maybe if they work together a little bit, use that DRS, use a bit of ERS when they need to, they can catch up to the back of this train of Tamby and Wilt and make things a bit more complicated for them. Let's see here. Ishtar looking very close to the back of Rossi, but it's not enough this time round. How many times have you heard that this commentary stream? Take a shot every time you hear me say not enough this time round, or not close enough this time. You'll be very drunk. Stan. Ooh. Another penalty there for him. That's a big cut there from Ishtar. Would not be surprised to find out that he got a warning from that. Definitely at Maggots and Beckett's, the track limits are quite harsh there sometimes. Pontus Johansson also just keeping to the back of this train with Ishtar and Rossi. So they're quite a long way detached really from the train ahead of Ladamala and Hyped. So this really is, I think, what they're fighting for in this race, a P8 position. But who's going to get it? For just nearly 5 tenths coming onto this straight might be enough if he uses a bit of ERS, but usually not the best kind of distance to make a move from, and it proves here as he gets just within that 3 tenths but unable to get any closer than that, unable to go for a move. And now on the run down to Cops, probably no opportunities for a move here. He's going to look anyway, and he is. He's down the inside of Rossi, squeezes him a bit towards the outside of that curb, but he's still there as Rossi coming into Magnussen Beckett. He backs out. Very smart idea there from Rossi to not want to be side by side there. Is now very defensive here from Ishtar as he gets a bad exit. Rossi is back through with DRS and reclaims his 8th position. Maybe not the smartest move from Ishtar to do it there, as Mr. Stikolas gets past Sculzi for P11 in this race. And now coming back onto a new lap 19 for these drivers. Let's see, is Pontus Johansson going to have a look for a move on Ishtar into turn 3? He's very close here. Has a small look but decides better of it. Of course, DRS coming up very shortly, so if he gets a good exit out of this corner, which it looks like it wasn't too bad, uses a bit of ERS maybe, the move could definitely be on. Look at that. Look how close he is already, coming to the inside of the track. Looking for the move on Ishtar now, holding the inside line, squeezes Ishtar out to the outside, and probably Ishtar will argue that he was forced off the track there. So Ishtar losing the position, but I'm sure he's not happy at all with the way in which he lost it. Smatters leaves the session after a spin on the main straight. Does not retire though, so his AI car will continue to drive around. And all of this battling, they're just losing more and more time to the cars ahead, but Ladamala has not wasted any time at all at getting onto the back of this fight between Tambi and Wilt. So these two may be battling a little bit too much and has allowed Ladamala to catch up. Ladamala, who has dropped hyped a bit, a bit outside of the DRS range now, so he's going to have to hope that Ladamala fights with these guys a bit to allow himself back in there, and maybe with a chance of more overtaking in this race. Stan passes Swen for P13. Not the kind of positions we're used to seeing Stan in, especially after last season. He was definitely a contender for the championship until quite late in the season, but unfortunately not showing it so far this season, as my audio is glitched. Great stuff, we love to see it. There we go, you can hear it again. Man, this game, it really needs some work. I really hope that next year's game is a huge improvement, especially in the multiplayer department, because I don't see how the game could survive with such a weak multiplayer for another year, because really, after you get past those first 6 months of a game, where the career mode eventually dies out, the multiplayer is what people come back for, and league racing is a huge part of that. Now, maybe a potential move towards the end of the lap here for Tambi. Not quite. Very defensive there from Wilt, moving to the inside, and Ladamala now, look at that gap, just over 3/10. So just under 3/10 for a second there, as there's more yellows than Sculzi. Sculzi's had an issue and he's in the wall. He's had a puncture. He's tried taking those soft tyres way too long, and he's punctured them 5 laps from the end of the race here. He's going to have to go back to the pits, and he will be last in this race. Cutting back forwards towards the front section of the grid now, we have Ladamala just about 4/10 away, so I don't think it's going to be enough to make a move into the next sequence of corners, unless Tambi makes a mistake. Tambi also getting very close to the back of Wilt there, but again unable to do anything about it. Just going to use slipstream all the way down the run to Copse, and this is really the most crucial part of the lap, because this is where the most dirty air happens, through Copse and then Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. That's where you lose the most time to dirty air in a lap. So if you can keep it close through this section, you have a huge chance of an overtake down the hanger straight, and that's exactly what Ladamala has done this time round, defensive from Wilt. So Tambi of course follows his line. Tambi pulling out from the slipstream a bit, unable to do anything this time. Ladamala also unable to do anything this time. Hardest place to be third man in a train, because the car ahead has DRS, you can't pass them, but the car ahead of them as well also defending, so you know, the car, if you're third man in a train, the car ahead gets all the benefits that you have, so you're going the same speed as them. As actually Ladamala looking for a move now into turn 3. As there's contact there, he pushes Tambi quite wide. Tambi I think is still there. No, Ladamala is able to come into the apex of the corner. They're going to lose a bit of time to Wilt through doing this, but this may be a smart play from Ladamala to get himself further ahead in this train to stop this whole third man of the train issue. And it has worked out for him, so he's moved himself up into P5 in this race. And next up the road is Wilt in P4. So maybe if he's planning on getting a move on here, I doubt he'd catch the likes of Rudy and Polby, but he can give it a try. Or at least consolidate P4. Which, I mean, P4 from P2 isn't exactly what you want as Tambi gets 3 seconds, but it's not bad. I mean, yeah, now he has DRS on Wilt. He's going to make a pass very early on in the straight, and he's tucked back in ahead before they even get to Stowe. So easy move there for Ladamala. Moves up into P4, and as I was saying, P4 isn't awful from P2 on the grid, but it certainly isn't bad considering what happened at turn 1 of this race, and he gets a purple final sector there. So just showing how much pace he has at this stage of the race with 4 laps to go. Now the next car up the road is Rudy, who is 6.5 seconds ahead. So it's going to be a tall task for him to catch that gap up with what's left in this race. But I'm sure he will push anyway, at least try to break the DRS back to Wilt, who of course will be benefiting hugely from not being the first man in the train anymore. Able to save a bit of VRS, able to pull himself along with a bit of DRS, and maybe could mount an attack again towards the end of this race, but he has got to be careful of Tambi behind. Tambi though will be struggling with that issue that we mentioned before of being the third man. So it is all still to play for here in this remaining, what is, I guess, 2.5 laps now for these drivers. Chiquito with a 26.4, fastest lap of the race. He is currently running in P16, having just stopped for a set of softs, so unfortunately for him, not going to help much. And as you can see there, Ladamala, very low ERS, he's derating, and that won't help him at all, as Wilt behind has a lot more battery saved up, and that will help him attack in the closing stages of this race. As it is starting to get a bit darker here, but I don't think it's going to rain. It's certainly not going to rain to any significant amount with the time we have left in this race. So for those of you who are hoping for a bit of rain, unfortunately I don't think that's going to happen here. Could be wrong though, could definitely be wrong. Hype just got that glitch where it says he's 1 lap behind the car ahead. That is not good. There's another glitch, obviously, Codemasters game, multiplayer glitch, because all their attention's on the career mode that no one plays after 6 months. You know, cool. Wilt now, just hanging back a bit from Ladamala, 6/10, so he's going to gain a lot on this straight. Look at that. Not really using his overtake mode. He has got a little bit less than when I last checked, but not using a huge amount. Maybe just saving it for a last lap overtake if he can get it. Of course, I know it says lap 25, but that's the leader's lap. So these guys are now coming on to lap 25. So they have 2 laps left in this race to sort it out among themselves. And saying that, Tambi has really dropped off the back of this train, so he's struggling for pace here in the closing stages. P6 is looking like it's where he's going to be. Touch wood, no commentator's curse please. So yeah, it looks like P6 is the best he can do unless something happens between Wilt and Ladamala here at the end of this race. Wilt again just staying behind a bit, making sure he's saving up his battery. Ladamala ahead, not so much. Derating already, using overtake out of Luffield, very strange considering the gap he's got to Will. And 3 seconds for Chiquito, our fastest lap holder in this race. As Ishtar and Pontus Johansson, that's a move on the run down to Stowe, and Pontus Johansson running wide and getting himself 3 seconds. They're going to go side by side through Maggots though. He's going to have the inside for Beckett's, but it's not going to be enough because Ishtar holds the more momentum round the outside and keeps the position. Moves himself up into P9, and that's a snap of oversteer there for Pontus Johansson. And he's losing time all the way down this straight now, and has to settle for P10 as it is. Mr. Stickerlass just a bit too far behind to make an advantage of any of this. Rossi looking like a pretty solid P8 at the moment. Obviously is all still to play for. Also still to play for P4 in this race. Wilt now 3/4 tenths behind. Can he get a good exit here? Short shifts up to 4th. I'm not sure that's going to get you a great exit there, my guy. 3rd will do. And this time round he's used his overtake, used his DRS, but it's not close enough. His last chance will be down the hanger straight. He's short shifting a bit too much in my opinion. So not getting the greatest exits. And Mr. Stickerlass and Pontus Johansson, I spoke about it, but Mr. Stickerlass has been touched by Pontus Johansson. He has managed to catch it. So I wonder what went on there, because Pontus Johansson looking like he's lost all of his pace in the closing stages of this race. And it's not good for him at all. Rudy now, right on the back of Polhi. He's going to go for a last lap overtake round the outside of Polhi. Is he going to make it stick as the rain starts to fall here? And he's going to have the inside for the final sequence of corners. You can see Ghost just ahead. Polhi sticks it around the outside. Ghost wins the race. Polhi now on the inside for the final 2 corners. Who's going to have the better run? Round the outside for Rudy and Polhi. Polhi gets it what I think was on penalties. And Wilt now gives past. Wilt passes Ladamala on the final lap, but due to penalties drops down to P6 behind both Ladamala and Tambi. So Ghost wins the race. Polhi 2nd, Rudy 3rd, Ladamala 4th, Tambi 5th, Wilt 6th, Hyped 7th, Rossi coming to finish 8th, Ishtar 9th, and Pontus Johansson 10th. No! Mr. Stickerlass 9th, and he gets past both Ishtar and Pontus Johansson. So Ishtar 10th, Basket and Mill 11th, just missing out on points. Pontus 12th, Stan 13th, Swen 14th, and it's looking like Chiquito will come P15 in this race, with Boomer retiring on the final lap through Maggots and Beckett's. Smatters, Scoolsy, the lap drivers in this race, and of course Trespassen and Tarumbar not finishing. Wow, what a race! I know there was lots of periods there where it was kind of nothing's happening because of the ERS or whatever, or the DRS change, you know, but wow, it all started kicking off towards the end there. And look at the rain coming down now. If this race had gone on, had a safety car, or had gone on for a few more laps, that rain definitely could have played a factor. But as always in a Formula 1 race, it comes when it doesn't matter, right at the end. Wow, Mr. Stickerlass driver of the day, that's a fair shout after what he did. But I think for today, my driver of the day would have to be Ladamala after that amazing performance he put on after turn 1. Ghost Toy obviously had the pace over everyone else, but I want to see what the stewards are going to say about that turn 1 incident. I have a feeling Ghost Toy might get the blame for it. If anyone does, of course, it might go down as a racing incident. It is lap 1, these things can happen, but in my opinion it did look like Ghost Toy turned across a bit too harshly. But obviously I'd have to go back and look at it again. So I am actually going to quickly go back and look at it again. Just find the point in the stream to start the race. That's the end of quali. This is the formation lap. Okay, here's the start of the race. So quickly, race rundown. Quickly, win for Ghost Toy there. Polhi 2nd, Rudy rounding out the podium. Ladamala 4th for great recovery drive. 5th Tambi, 6th Will, Hyped 7th, Rossi 8th, Mr. Stickerlass 9th, the US driver. 10th Ishtar, the final point. Basket 11th, Pontus 12th, 13th Stan, 14th Swen, 15th Chiquito, Boomer, Smatters 16th and 17th lapped. 18th also Scoolsy lapped. 19th and 20th, Trespassing and Trimbar did not finish. Quickly have a scroll through the incidents. Anyone wants any warnings removed, any penalties removed for anything, they can come and check. This is like the race director, so it will show me when it happened, just as proof that they can have that removed or whatever. There you go. They did not serve it under the pit stops. There we go. So yeah, I'm just going to have a quick look at this lap 1 incident, and then we'll invite the podium finishers for the podium interviews. So off the start here, Latimer had a very good start. I'm just going to slow it down to 0.25 times playback speed. So it comes across and it looks like it's very touch and go whether there was enough space there between Latimer and Ghost Toy, so it might go down as a racing incident, but it was, if there was a car's width there, it was barely. But anyway, take nothing away from him. He had insane pace today to win this race, really untroubled throughout most of it. It would have just been it would have been great to see what would have happened had Ladamala not had that lap 1 incident, you know. So yeah, give me a second, I'll quickly see if any of the podium finishers want to come in for a podium interview. Past weeks it hasn't happened. I'm thinking because game doesn't like the fact that I'm trying to add them to a group. Whatever. In that case, I'm just going to quickly check on the other streams. I think they're both still running. So Tier 2 is actually finished. Tier 3 is still going, however. They have when it stops glitching, they're on the final lap. Actually, the final drive is about to cross the finish line. So that is it for all the racing here in ALR today. As always, thank you for coming along. It has been a pleasure to commentate this race. Great, very exciting race. Definitely a pick up from the previous couple of races, which were Australia and China. So yeah, definitely a breath of fresh air to get a good race like this. Of course, don't forget to check out the Tier 4 race on Sunday at 8 PM UK time, and of course the Sprint League race at Tuesday 8 PM UK time, as always. So thank you all for coming. Make sure, you know, check out ALR's social media, Twitter, obviously YouTube. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. And apart from that, that's it for me. So thank you for coming. Goodbye. Hope you'll have a nice rest of your day, because I know it is quite late for most people. See ya.